I definitely believe that micro schools need to be the way of the future. We need to break up these big systems.
Drives me mad.
It makes me sick.
So we put these numbers on these kids and these labels where it's like, if you're 5 years old and you're not reading, that I'm not a good learner, or I don't know how to do that. Kids learn at different paces.
There's just so much of life that's happening. We still go, how you doing in school? You getting straight A's?
You guys came across my feed, and well, I remember you from Buddy and Pals.
Yeah.
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 And then
That was
long time ago.
decade ago.
Yeah, I know. Same. And then somehow you guys came across my feed. So I started scoping it out. I'm like, this is cool as shit. I love what you guys are doing. Can you explain like exactly what you guys do?
Yeah. You go.
Yeah, so we're a close to nature school, and we started a micro school, which is a very intimate setting for education, and we more so educate about life rather than just academics. So there's a lot to be integrated through nature and living and resiliency building through nature, and then we also have the added element of academics.
When you say life, like what does that mean?
Like I feel like there's nothing that's off limits really out there. There's so much to learn through nature. And it's what we keep referring to it as the silent teacher out there, because there's resiliency building, there's adaptation, there's always some obstacle that just running a school, being out there in a school, there's always there's some challenge to overcome. And that's what we're doing out there.
Yeah. We believe that life is learning. So, when we're out there with the kids, it's like, what are they interested in? What makes them tick? And how can we expand that? We don't think that it has to be, compartmentalized, where we're learning about math, we're learning about reading, we're having our writing class. I mean, we do have some of that as well, but we just kind of let life take its course. And
But do you guys teach academics as well? So it's a blend.
Yeah.
But okay, so I have so many questions. So on the academic side, are you guys required by the state or the federal government to teach certain subjects?
we are not. We went non-accredited.
So we get to do whatever we want.
To do whatever.
Essentially, what we do, there is one rule that we do have to follow, which is we have to offer 180 days on campus learning.
Okay.
So we do follow that rule. That's basically the one big one that we have to follow. But since we chose to be non-accredited, we're non-public, we get to pursue whatever curriculum, whatever direction we want to go. And that gives us freedom to really serve the student or the learner. I guess we always call them the learner instead of a student. That gives us a chance to really see their strengths and then tease those out rather than just say, you're a blank slate, we're going to tell you what you need to learn, and this is the way that you're going to do it. We're going to prepare you to do a test. It's just not the way that we wanted to roll.
And so like, let's take math as an example. You guys obviously teach math.
Yeah, there's so much math in nature.
There is.
There's so much. Yeah, we do. And also that we do have, I guess, the framework to take math as far as it needs to go for that individual. Like for me personally, the way that I went through school, I had to go all the way up through high school, and I think that I maybe maxed out at like algebra 2, maybe. Geometry. I really enjoyed geometry. But the rest of it, my brain just didn't comprehend. I had a block somewhere, and it wasn't something that I really needed. And me living a life, I'm 39 years old, the practice that I'm working in, I don't need a bunch of that. So that was a bunch of wasted space, wasted time for me.
I always say that. I feel like, like my nieces are in, advanced calculus in high school. Now, there's probably something to that depending on what you want to do later in life. They both want to, sounds like, get into the medical field. At the same time, like when you're 18 years old, who really knows what the hell you want to do? People change their mind all the time, right? And so I could see a use case for that, but that's a small minority. The majority of students really beyond, I don't know. I mean, I think some geometry is good, so you understand space and area and maybe a little bit of algebra. But outside of that, like, you don't use that stuff.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
Well, and two, like, we feel that way about high school, where it's like you take all these classes and then it's like, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? What are you going to go to college for? And it's like you have no real life experiences to determine which path you want to go. Like, I went out of school and I decided I wanted to be a dental hygienist. And then I realized people have nasty teeth and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like I had no experiences in high school. And it's like in our cohort 2 and our cohort 3, we want those kids to have apprenticeships and we want them to have real life experiences
perfect.
and know what their passion is, so that we can help guide them to say, like, okay, you want to try this out? Let's see if this is a good fit, so that it's not you're 18, you graduate, and you drop off a cliff. Like, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Like, start immersing them in those experiences early on so they can really see, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? In our cohort 2, we're actually going to have different people coming throughout the year, like just explaining what they do. Like, I'm an engineer. This is what it means to be an engineer. This is what I do. And it was cool.
It's people that love what they do too.
Yeah.
We want
people
to
that
expose
love
them
what
to
they
people
do.
that are passionate.
So what is cohort 2, 3? What does that mean?
So that's how we group the kids in terms of age. We don't do like a specific grade level. So like when you're in first grade, it's like, here's this curriculum. You have to do this to pass first grade, and then you go on to second. We believe that there's a span that children learn at. So it's like you might be 6 when you learn to read, you might be 9 when you learn to read. So cohort 1 is ages 5 to 9. It's giving them more time
And respect.
to, when am I going to learn this? When is this going to be the appropriate time for me? Versus you're in first grade, you didn't learn how to read. Now I have this label of I'm dumb, I'm not smart, I wasn't good at this. It's like we're giving them the opportunity to have more of a span to learn things. So cohort 1 is ages 5 to 9, then cohort 2 is ages 10 to 13, and then cohort 3 will eventually be 14 to graduation.
Oh, wow. So you guys will go that much older.
You really can't go back after you've experienced this. So we have to go through high school. Once you get a taste of this, like, you can't go back.
So when you say, like, in cohort 1 where you're giving them the space to learn to read, you're saying that they could not be able to read till 9 years old?
Yeah.
Whoa. What's the theory? What's the mindset behind that? Because I feel like
Kids learn at different paces. Like, when did you learn to walk? How old were you?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember what I did last week.
9 months. My nephew was 16 months. That's a span.
Yeah.
There's a span for everything in life. So we put these numbers on these kids and these labels, and we see that how it affects them in a negative way, where it's like, if you're 5 years old and you're not reading and you're not ready for that yet, it's like, now I have this idea of myself that's completely false, that I'm not a good learner, or I don't know how to do that, when really developmentally you just weren't ready yet. We see that a lot at the school, where the girls are more ready for the traditional academics and they enjoy doing those things, where the boys are more about, building things and
Destroying
climbing and
things.
jumping
Yeah.
and destroying and things like that.
war.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Beating
it's
each
like
other up.
it's natural life for there to be a span of when kids learn things. And our focus is on the end game. I want that child to know that they're smart and they're intelligent. And if that means that we need a couple more years to get to that spot where they're ready for it, we're taking it. This is such a short time.
Yeah.
At the same time, I feel like, let me push back a little bit. I feel like kids up until they're like probably 13, when they become a teenager, right? When they become a teenager, most kids are idiots, right? Because the hormones are just all over the place. But prior to that, I feel like kids are like sponges,
Yeah.
right? They just absorb everything. It's kind of like, I know this is an extreme example, but Tiger Woods, he was playing golf at like 2 years old. He just absorbed that so quick because they're like a sponge. Same with like Stevie Wonder. He started playing piano at like 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You start so young that you're able to absorb all of this information and retain it.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you want to delay the basics if they're like sponges and they can retain so quickly at a young age?
I think that's, from my perspective, it seems like we're narrowing down what smart is. And we're narrowing it down to just academics if we're coming at it from a school perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of gadgets out there that are toddlers, 1-year-olds that are 0+, right? Of toys that are academics, A, B, C, D, and there's A, B, C. There's all of these things that say your kid needs to learn right now. They need to learn right now. And that, what we've seen is that's just an overstimulation of the analytical mind. So that's a left brain thinking thing. So then what happens is this becomes overstimulated and then this becomes understimulated. And then the issue that we're seeing with that is there is more anxiety and more depression because there's less integration. There's no real stimulation of the emotional brain.
Is that device driven, or do you think that's...
I think that's a part of the recipe.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I think there's a lot of ingredients in this recipe that are
Yeah.
creating this storm.
Yeah.
And we've definitely identified that technology is a huge
It's huge.
piece.
When I go out to eat and I see parents just hand their toddler a phone just to keep them quiet, it drives me mad.
It makes me sick.
It does.
It turns my stomach.
Yeah, it's so, because now I talk about this on the podcast all the time. I feel like ever since COVID, because that generation that went through COVID, that were in high school, that were locked up for 2 years, and they were forced to learn via via devices, they have no social skills. And we hire kids that are in high school, and ever since COVID, like, it's night and day difference.
How often do we hear this from people that it's like that generation in high school, like they don't have the life skills?
Yeah.
They just...
I don't even know if they have life in their eye. I mean, I can't say this for 100% of them, but I was just working with a kid and he's not, they're not there.
Yeah.
Mouth open,
Yeah.
in a daze.
Yeah.
And I think this is a product. This is one, a result of what we're doing to our children right now.
So how do you guys hire the teachers, like qualified teachers, to be able to at least teach the basics, the math, the history, the science, blah, 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 blah? I mean,
we put feelers out there.
Yeah.
That if there's people that are willing to go against the grain, and we've been really, really blessed to find teachers that went into teaching for the right reasons. Like they were passionate about teaching kids and they have a love for learning themselves. It was just the system that they
We're cuffed to.
Yeah, and that's who we want. We want people that it's like you have a passion for learning, you love kids, but the system was putting you in a box and making you check all these boxes for the kids. And we've had really good experiences with.
how long has the school been open now?
This will be technically our second year where we've launched to the public. Our third year total. We guinea pigged it with our kids the first year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And so how many students?
We'll have 34
Oh.
in the fall.
Ages from...
5 to 13. Yeah.
And then they're grouped like the cohorts, like you said.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
And we capped it at that because we want to keep it small so we can maintain our vision and our philosophy. We don't want to get too big too fast. Actually, we don't even know if we want to get big at all.
No. And that's what's the beauty of micro schools. And I feel like that maybe Wonder Academy isn't for everybody. The way that we teach, the way that we want to guide our students, but I definitely believe that micro schools need to be the way of the future. That we need to break up these big systems to where you have one teacher to 30 students. There's no way to build a relationship with that child to be able to even recognize that child has strengths or anything that's individual about them. And that's why we want to keep it small. We want to keep it intimate. We want to be able to serve that human being that's in front of us.
Not just a number.
Yeah. Instead of, and then that's the way that it has to be because the system is so big right now that the kids do have to get assigned numbers, and we don't want to dumb them down to that. We don't want them to lose themselves to that system.
Well, and most of the time too, like when Bush Jr. passed, No Child Left Behind, most of the kids didn't even really have to learn because they just skated by. They weren't held to a certain standard to make sure that by the time you're 18 or whatever grade you're in, you could do at least the basics. Which that has become a domino effect.
Yeah.
As well. So how did you guys even get started with this? This is a huge undertaking.
It's our life's work. Honestly, it's a soul calling for me. I think it is for Ashleigh and Sarah too. That we just, the pain of thinking about putting our kids into a system like that after we have come so far and on our journeys to break out of it, seemed like it was passing the baton too far back. As if life's a relay and our children are the ones picking it up, it would be passing it too far back for them to catch up to where we've been, right? We want them to go beyond where beyond our wildest dreams, and we couldn't do that. I couldn't see myself giving my children that and then putting them back into the system and saying, I know this isn't going to matter, but you're going to have to do it. I don't want to pass that on to my child. And so a lot of our inspiration has been because of our children and what we were seeing. Our vision for our families.
I was in the public school system for 5 years when I had our first son. And I was like, I'm going to retire here. This is the perfect job. He's going to go to school here. I'm going to be here. This is such a blessing. Yay. And I got in there and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
This is wild. I think COVID, the pandemic, had a lot to do with that. But I was just blown away to see how much was on a screen for kindergartners, first graders.
Yeah.
I was blown away to see the kids in the classroom falling out of desks, not knowing how to write. Talk about not knowing basic skills.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many times where I'm like, do parents even know what's going on behind these walls? Because this is bananas. I'm not sending my kid here. And just so much burnout from the staff because what's placed on them is this huge span of kids in different areas, and it's like you have to do this thing with every single kid in this classroom. Okay, well Johnny's still peeing his pants, and it's just they're up against something that's impossible. So it's like they're burnt out. You can see it. They're not enjoying the children. The children aren't enjoying it, and it's honestly it felt like a prison.
Yeah, and they don't get support and respect from the parents. Because the parents think that it's the teacher's job to do that. No, it's also your job as a parent. And when the child gets home, you're helping them with their homework. You're holding them accountable, all of that stuff. And they don't. Most parents don't anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, it's hard. Most homes are double income.
Yeah.
They have to be. They have to be double
income.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, the whole system is set up that way, where it's like, you come home and you have 30 minutes of homework that you have to do with your kid. That's like a tiny blip of like you see what's going on in their day. And it's like I feel like that's why everything's online, so you can see their progress, what's their grade, what they're doing, because you don't have the time in the day for that. And
to your point too, like when my son would come home and he would need to work on, I always go back to math, but let's just say math. Be like, where's your book? We don't have books. What do you mean you don't have books? No, they just give us copies of sheets, or it's on the computer. Yeah. I'm like, but like the whole lesson is in the book. How are you supposed to understand how to do the formula or the equation if you don't have the data to understand it?
Right.
And I would sit with them and I'm like, how are you going to learn this way? You can't, even the way that they were showing them how to do division, long division. Mm-hmm. We did a test one night. I'm like, okay, you do it the way the teacher showed you, and I'm going to do it the way that I learned it. And I was done in like half the amount of time of him.
Yes.
Because of this new way they do long division.
Right.
Is that the Common Core? Or
yes, it's the common.
So they're still
doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're so far out of the system.
That's what's so nice about micro schools too, is that like if kids learn in different ways, we can adapt to that.
Especially if you have the smaller classroom.
Yes, we don't have to put every single kid on the same curriculum. Some need manipulatives for math. Some do it all in their head. some need the Common Core and to do it that way. It's like we can offer that because we don't have to have every single kid learning the exact same way.
So you guys started with your kids. So when you guys started, how many total kids were there?
3.
Oh, 3. Okay. So that was a very good little test group.
Yeah, if we mess them up, they're our kids.
Yeah,
So
right.
we get to
Right. And so do you have to get like licensed through the state to be a micro school or anything? Or is it considered homeschooling?
It's not considered homeschooling.
No, so we do. Our label is non-accredited, non-public private school.
Okay.
And we do have to get a business license.
Okay.
But as far as anything with the DOE, the Department of Education, we don't have to go through a lot of what a traditional school would go through. So if that answers your question.
Yep. So since you guys are going to start getting into the high school arena, how does that work where if somebody wants to go to college and they're going to a school that's not accredited to be able to get into college?
I love this question so much because what we're learning from our mentors at the National Microschooling level is that colleges are seeking out students now with this alternative education.
Really?
Yes, because of the issue that you were just talking about earlier, where there's no real life skills. They have this diploma, but it's just
There's nothing that's really having them to self-start.
and they're looking for kids that have been homeschooled, kids that have had alternative education. Our kids will graduate with transcripts. They will have a transcript. We can turn the things that we do into credits. And depending what they're wanting to do, whether it's college or an apprenticeship or whatever, we'll build their transcripts knowing that in our mind what their end goal is. But yeah, they'll have a diploma, they'll have transcripts. And I mean, I'm excited to see it because I think that our learners are going to have skills that kids coming out of the system are not going to have. And I think that's just going to speak for itself.
They're going to have survival skills.
What does that mean, survival skills?
We're literally teaching survival skills in our school. Yeah, we can't do a nature school without putting in some survival skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have bushcrafting. We've got survival skills that we introduce on. We also have mindfulness meditation that we're teaching them. There's a lot of space for the human in our school, and that's one of the things that I feel like she was saying that a lot of these kids aren't going to have because so many of the children, so many of the schools, they are plugged into the computer. And I just read today that there were schools in Gary, Indiana that have classless teacherless classes.
Oh yeah, because their budget is so slashed. Yeah,
and this is
who wants to teach in Gary?
And the human connection is how can you expect to produce any sort of responsible or integrated or connected citizen if this is the way that we're teaching our kids? And it is such a narrow way to define what intelligence is. I feel like, and we have to do a lot of deconditioning ourselves just because we've gone through the system. Were you public school too?
I was private through 8th and then went to public, and it was like a culture shock.
Was it?
Yeah.
And what was that like?
It was crazy because I went from St. Mary's, a parochial school, where we had 60 kids in our class per grade. And then you go into Crown Point High School that had, when I was a freshman, I think we had, at that time, like 700 or 800. And you're like, and then you figure, so there's 2,500 kids in a school. You're like, holy shit.
It's like a tiny city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was the old high school, right? Before they built the new one.
Yeah.
So
And it's
even bigger now.
Double, triple that.
Yeah.
I don't know what their number is now. I know it's huge, but same. I graduated from the old high school. We were the last graduating class. They tried to make it cool when there was a new building being built. Like, hey, guess what? You get to be the last ones here.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So then, do you guys have computer classes then? Because, I mean, computers are so...
In cohort 2, that's whenever we begin to introduce technology.
And cohort 2 is what ages?
10 to 13.
Yeah, 10 to 13.
Okay. So up until 9, they're not touching any device. I love that.
Not at our school.
We do too.
I love that.
And it's interesting because the feedback or the pushback that we receive is like, but they have to know how to do this. And it's like, yes, they do. But when it's age appropriate for a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7, 8, they're not ready for that. And it's like, technology is moving so fast. Like already, like our kids don't need to know what a CD player is. Just like, we were cassettes or things like that. It's like technology is moving so fast. They don't have to be introduced to it at 5 years old because by the time they're 9, it's brand new technology anyway. It's going to be completely
Well, look at
different.
AI.
Yeah,
I mean, in the last 2 to 3 years, ChatGPT, when it first came out, and they just released version 5, and I don't know if you guys mess around with that, but it is crazy what you can do. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's that right there, that uncertainty that the AI has brought in to our collective here is a lot of why we want to go back to the basics of what nature offers. Because I was talking in one of our meetings with our parents the other day that there's this Kagan, C-A-G-A-N, that's his last name. Carl Kagan maybe. He did this poem and it was called the Pale Blue Dot, I believe. Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah.
The pale, and it basically it brings our existence into question, right? Start to question your existence. But he gives this timeline that this at the shoulder here is about where Earth begins, and then you travel all the way through. So nature is happening all the way down, and then about to the wrist is where dinosaurs emerge.
Yeah.
And then you go all the way down. You continue all the way down to the very, very tip of the nail.
Yeah.
And then that's where humanity emerges. And then he says, with the flick of a nail file, you can erase all of humanity. And this is one of the things that we get to connect to nature that has always been there. It's been steady, it's stable. The Aztecs, the ancient Greece, any ancient city that we've learned about in history, it's ancient, it's gone.
Yeah.
So there's so much that's happening right now and in our time that there is so much creation that there is so much deletion too. So there's a lot of uncertainty about what is our direction? What is our path forward? What does our economy look like after all of these AI bots have taken our jobs because it's more economical to use? What do we do then? So there's a lot of uncertainty, I feel like, moving into the future, moving forward, just right where we're standing at right now. So why not connect our children into something that's real, something that's always going to be there, something that they can always count on, something that they're always going to be able to go and connect to that has this ancient wisdom within it, that doesn't have to be deleted because it's not on some supercomputer.
That's a very good point, because I was actually just talking to my friends about this over the weekend, where you really don't know how far back humanity goes because history has been rewritten so many times. And I use the example of the top of Mount Everest used to be the ocean floor.
Yeah.
So how do you really know what's been here before? Because the earth has continually
reset itself. Yeah.
And there's some guys out there, Randy, I forgot his name. Randy, anyways, he talks about where Earth has experienced several
mass extinctions
that we would never have known, especially from comets hitting the Earth. And also, like, are you guys familiar with Colossal, the company Colossal? They're the ones that have they've regrown, whatever you want to call it, regrown the dire wolf. They're going to bring back the woolly mammoth.
What?
Yeah.
And out in Colorado?
I think they're in Colorado. They're a genetic research company, and they've been able to.
So it's like Jurassic Park, but real?
It is literally like they started less dinosaur.
More
yeah,
woolly mammoth-y.
Yeah, they started with the dire wolf. They've bred 3 dire wolves because they've been able to find now dire wolves haven't been on this earth in 13,000 years, and so they've been able to regrow. I don't know what you want to call it. And now they're going to do woolly mammoths, and then they're doing a couple other extinct animals. Wow. But moral of the story is that the head doctor for Colossal was on Joe Rogan's podcast, as she was saying, do you know how hard it is for something to become fossilized? She said that the likelihood of anything being fossilized, the percentage is so small that, again, it gets back to you really don't know what's been on this earth before, because the fossils that we do have, the statistic of them even existing is so minute that you probably don't, there's probably things that have existed on this earth that we would have never ever known about. And so going back to my first statement of Mount Everest used to be the ocean floor, you know, you just don't know, you know, you don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about.
It is.
Wild.
It makes you feel so insignificant.
And thank God for that.
Yeah.
And I say that because of how much significance, to bring it back to education, how much significance we put on that K through 12 education, and that we make it seem like it is the most important part of a child's life. Whenever there's these different relationships evolving, there's the mother and the father. Are the mother and the father together? There's siblings, there's family members, there's death, there's just so much of life that's happening in that short span of time that we still go into, well, how's school? How you doing in school? You getting straight A's? We always focus on, and then if you listen to adults talk to children, that's their number one question. They don't know what else to talk about.
Yeah.
And I ask kids, what are you interested in? What's your favorite thing? And then a lot of them, if they've been in the system for too long, they don't know the answer.
Yeah.
So going back to what Ashleigh was saying earlier, when we were talking about after 18 and you graduate and then you go to college and it's, what do you want to do? That's the first time that somebody's asked you, what do you want to do? I remember leaving school, and I don't know, I had moved around the country a few times, and I landed here going to IUN in Gary, and I was so confused about what I wanted to do. I took some college tests.
Yeah.
Was it a college aptitude test?
Yeah.
To look at my personality. And I answered a bunch of questions about my personality, and then the very first thing that it spit out was be a bartender. I was bartending at Buddy and Pals at that time. And I was like, well, I lived my dream.
Well,
I've achieved it. But it's still, there was there was so much soul searching that needed to happen, that I've come a long way from that. I don't know what I want to do. What am I here for? I took a few wrong paths, a few wrong roads to figure out what I didn't want to do. I don't think that we need to wait till 18 to introduce that type of life to our children.
I agree.
So with our cohort 2, what we do is we really start to, and this is whenever their interests start to come online. Last year we had, is she 10 or 11?
She's 11 now.
11. So we had a student, and she loves cooking. She loves baking. She loves writing. She's an excellent writer. She's an incredible writer. She comes alive whenever she's doing these things. And we were able to give her a task. She was creating an over the fire camping cookbook.
Okay.
So we were doing.
She's 11?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So she's learning how to manage a fire, how to make a fire on low, high, medium heat settings. We cooked pasta, we cooked brownies, we cooked sourdough. We did a little bread breaking ceremony.
In class.
That was just our school life.
Okay.
We don't have like a certain block for our classes. It's just this is where we're going. And usually those things would happen on Thursdays and Fridays, where there was a little bit more of a looser, more flexibility in our flow. But anywho, so she's able to do those things and really see her strengths come through and feel proud of herself. And that's the way that we've designed a program.
That's so cool.
She came out of school. She came out of a private school, and one of the teachers said, well, maybe you're just not a learner. And this is what they were telling to this child in 2nd grade. And she was interviewing me at the end of last year because they started to do this journalist project. So a junior journalist. So she wanted to interview me about opening the school. I couldn't get through it without crying. But while she was interviewing me, she was talking about how she felt smart at our school. She's like, I actually feel smart here. I didn't feel smart at my old school. And then she also commented on the community. She said that her old school, they would talk about community, but she said, now I know what community means.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
And that's so just to think about what we're doing with these children and the emphasis that we're putting on community and relationships. What does that look like whenever they're 20, 25, 30?
Yeah.
What do their relationships look like whenever they're actually based in? They have to go, they really do have to go through the messiness of a relationship at our school, because for one, we have space for it. And then two, whenever conflicts arise, we coach them through it. We walk them through it. They come around to peace. So they get to learn those skills.
I like what you said there, because as you were talking, I was thinking about, I would be curious 10, 15 years from now, someone doing a study on your school to see how many of the kids have learning disabilities, meaning ADD, all these other ADHD, all these other things that so many kids are what do you call it? Diagnosed.
So
Thank you.
early.
Diagnosed with.
Especially our boys.
Yeah.
We see that with our boys.
Yeah.
Like when you see them outside
And there's nothing
and
wrong
in
with
nature,
them.
No, there's not.
There's not. But I mean, they never stop.
Yeah.
They never stop. We joke that we're out there producing Olympic athletes because these kids are moving and jumping and doing stuff all day long.
What they should be doing.
And so it's like you put that in a classroom.
Yeah.
That 5 to 9 age, especially these boys, and it's like they have ADHD, they can't sit still. Now we're going to put them on this medication. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it's like now they have that label and that medication for the rest of their life, when really what they were doing is just completely developmentally appropriate. And it's like it drives me up the wall, because it's like we don't have a Ritalin deficit.
Right.
Like that's not the issue. The
Right.
issue is not that we now have all of these kids with ADHD. We have now all of these kids with ADD. What's going on? What are we putting them in that's causing this type of increase?
Yeah.
And it's like nobody's looking outside the box to say, why does 1 in 3 boys have a diagnosis of ADHD or ADD? Like,
Well, again,
They're
going
not
back
the
to the
problem.
screens, they're forcing them on screens, or the parents are allowing them to play video games for hours upon hours. They have no especially boys, have no physical outlet.
right.
I don't know if you guys have seen, there's been a meme that's gone around the internet lately that shows gym class from the 60s versus gym class now.
No.
And it's like, it's night and day. Like from the 60s and 70s, there was like, all the kids were having to like,
They were using their bodies.
yeah, they were jungle gyms. They were jumping all over. And now, like, when you get into high school, I think you're required 1 semester of PE. That's it.
Wow.
For this one body that you have for the rest of your life.
Right, right. And look at the physical difference between kids now versus back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're overweight. They're eating constant junk food. The parents are feeding them so much processed food.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Oh, it's wild.
I wanted to ask about the conflict too, because that's an interesting thing too. I watched the Netflix documentary a few years ago. There was a school, it might have been a micro academy like you guys have, micro school, in the UK, where they are very similar to what you guys do with like gardening, meditation, right? All that stuff. And then they even go through conflict resolution with these kids, where if there's bullying or if they're, like you said, in a relationship, being able to handle conflict resolution. So how do you guys teach that? What is your guys' program for that?
Well, last year, whenever we first launched, a lot of it was whatever came up. Whenever it came up, that's whenever we approached it. So a lot of times it is
Socratic discussion.
and in Socratic discussions.
Oh, okay.
We want a lot of the learning. I would like 100% of our learning to be contextual. So they're living their learning, and that's how we approached it for that year. This year we have a lot more organization. We have a couple of more teachers that we're drawing upon their strengths to be able to add in these things so that we can be a little more proactive at it. And I think we really do need to be more proactive this year, because a lot of last year's students hadn't been in the system yet. A lot of this year's students, I think we about half and half now, that we have half.
We have a lot that are coming from
the
public school.
So there is going to be, I'm sure of it, that there's going to be a lot of conflict that comes up. But whenever it came up last year, I mean, there's a couple of instances that I can think of. We let the boys wrestle around. We allow for that to happen, and sometimes they get a little too rough. Sometimes they hit a little too hard.
Yeah.
And there was this one game called Trip the Tripper. We let them come up with, we don't let them, they just come up with games, and we allow for space to happen. So Trip the Tripper, some part of this game is there's a tripper, and then you have to try to trip the tripper.
What could go wrong with that?
Yeah. So it was inside, and then it was inside of our dome, and one of the boys had, I think, elbowed the other in the face, and then the guy that got elbowed clocked him in the face. So he had this bloody lip, and then they were both red, like in anger. So then one of our teachers was like, okay, hang on, you guys, you go this way, you go that way, take a walk. Let them take a walk. And then me and Miss Jeannie, this is the one that was with me working this through, and I was like, we need to bring them back together. We need to have them talk to each other and have them shake hands after to close this up, because we're too small of a community to really let stuff continue to fester. So that's what happened. The one student that punched the other student went for a walk, and then she went and collected them, and then we brought them back together, and we were out on our front porch, and we let them talk to each other. We let them discuss what was happening, and the one that had elbowed the other in the face, he let him know, he's like, that was an accident, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And then the other one that went straight for the punch in the face, he was like, I'm really sorry that I did that too. I don't know what happened. My uncle just died, and I feel like I've been really on edge because of that. And then
how old were these kids?
9 and 10.
That's so exciting, insightful at 9 and 10 years old to be able to understand those emotions.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So whenever he explained that, the other one was like, oh, I didn't know that was what was going on. I'm sorry. And then they ended up shaking hands, and then they went back to just playing. I'm sure as adults we can make bigger deals out of these conflicts than it needs to be. But that was one of those opportunities that I saw as a coaching moment to, you don't have to be enemies. You can come around and you can have a discussion and you come back to peace. And then that's the goal, that we want these kids to be able to work through their issues. It's how often, going back to the results that we're seeing in adults now, divorce rates are skyrocketed. People can't work their conflicts out. People can't work their shit out. So what do? They just quit.
Yeah.
So with our community, again, going back to being at the micro level, the more intimate level, we have the space, we have the opportunity to develop those relationships.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
It is.
Do you guys, what about structured sports? Like, do the kids have an opportunity to do sports? You know, like, in middle school and high school, you're doing track, you're doing football, all of that stuff. Do those kids get will they have the opportunity? They do.
They do have the opportunity. They don't, at this moment that we know of, have the opportunity to do it at the public school, on public school teams. But there's plenty of other recreational teams that they're joining.
So they'd have to go to a club.
Yeah,
we're hoping to develop those relationships.
There's a market for that. So if there's any of your listeners that are looking for their next thing, there is a void right now to develop that, because because of how many people that are leaving the institutions, they're going to homeschool or they're creating micro schools. Those micro schools are popping up everywhere. To find somebody that has the time, has the passion to develop that program, it's the want is there, the desire is there, because a lot of our fathers, they come from sports backgrounds. They want their kids to play sports. They want and a lot of the mothers too.
Yeah,
but I think
a lot
it's more
of value to it for sure.
Yeah. So we have like my daughter's playing soccer right now. There's a bunch of kids that are on flag football right now. So Sarah, our other partner, her husband Tim, is coaching football for. Is Remy on the team too?
Remy's the older age group now.
Okay,
we're in the same.
Remy's Ashleigh's son.
Okay.
But there's four of our boys in the younger group are on his team, and these guys, whenever we're out there watching them, they just look like a bunch of bear cubs, and they're wailing on each other, destroying things. And there was a time, going back to the education, at the beginning of last school year, we're like, well, how do we get them engaged? What do we do?
Yeah.
How do we do this?
Football.
That's all they want to do.
Yeah.
And then finally, there was a time where Tom Ruby is the guy that owns the property that we're using. He was doing some ranch work out there, and then the boys just gravitated towards it, and they were focused. They were doing it till the job was done, and they were able to. That's what their learning was. That's what they were, and their work ethic was being appreciated. It was being valued. They saw a purpose to what they were doing, and then whenever we sit there and we try to give them a worksheet, and they look at it and they're like, these are just
There's no purpose.
squiggles on a piece of paper. This has no context. There's no reason for me to do this. So where's the buy-in?
Yeah.
And we don't want to force that, and because we want to create a love for learning. We were talking earlier again about why would we want to wait to introduce, or why would we want to wait for them to learn how to read? We want them to learn to love to read. We want them to be eager, to be curious, to know what it is to read. Because Ashley's good at talking about this. Whenever children are forced to read before they're ready, that they begin to plateau. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's cool. The research shows that if a child is taught to learn at age 5, okay, so you learned how to read, you're going to score higher on, testing until about 3rd grade for a child who didn't learn to read at 5. And then let's say the other child learned to read at 9, okay? Till about 3rd grade, that 5-year-old is going to exceed academically on paper the child that's 9. Then after 9, the 5-year-old taps out, and the 9-year-old goes like this. Because they waited for the time where it was meaningful to them till it was developmentally appropriate, and then they had a love of learning for it. When it's forced down your throat and you have to do it because you're able to do it, they didn't have the passion behind it. They didn't have the love for it. And it's really cool to see with our kids that it's like if we give them that space and that time, they have a love for it versus just, I have to read. Do I have to read this book? I don't want to read this book. A lot of times they talk about like kids starting with comic books or like things that interest them. Pokemon, I want to know what this says. I want to know who this guy is. And it's like we can't do that in the school system where it's like we give them a comic book to read. They're learning about, Jack can sit, Jack can run. They're bored stiff. It doesn't have any value to them. And that's what we're really gearing towards too, is like, what are they interested in? What do they like to do? And how can we use that to fuel their education?
Do you think though at that young of an age that they understand value? And let me try and put it in context. I think we could all agree that when we were younger and our parents would make us do things or not let us do things, at the time we were like, what the fuck, God, come on. But now that when you're older, you're like, I get it. I get why they were trying, what they were doing. Do you think that still applies to the same thing with being able to learn at that age? Because they don't understand the value.
I think the approach is just completely different.
Yeah.
That the way that we approach education at that age, at the younger age, it is as much as we can from their perspective, what they can relate to. Not so much, you need to do this because you need to know this whenever you're 25.
I could see it from the perspective of like not wanting to do chores or not wanting to eat your vegetables and things like that, where you're like, okay, I understand, like that laid the foundation. But to me, from the academic side, like I said before, it's like I'm interested in the long game. So forcing something too early to me is just not the route I want to go. Just because they're able and they have that capacity. I get what you're saying.
So typically 9 years old is third grade?
Third grade.
So are you saying that by the time they get to cohort 2, they have to start learning to read? Or are you still kind of...
They're learning to read in cohort 1.
Yeah. Okay.
We provide the opportunity to learn to read there, but we're not forcing them to do it
At a certain age.
So they do have, we do respect that they have choice, that they do come around because this is the environment that they're in. They become interested in it. So
kids are naturally curious. If we give them that space and that time, it's going to come. They're going to want to do it.
Yeah. And respect. I
Yeah,
feel like there's a lot of disrespect that happens in the current system because of testing regulations.
Oh yeah.
That's
for sure.
That gets in the way of the child. And I feel like that's where it's unintentional disrespect from I don't want to sit here and make teachers think that I hate them. I love teachers. I love they're the heroes in the story, but there's a system that is not really valuing the children, and that's it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to think about.
You mentioned choice a lot. How do you make a child understand the difference in choices between something that is required versus when you actually have a choice, right? How do I even do that? Like maybe like you have a choice in what you want to do with your life. You have a choice in who you want to be with, who you want to be friends with, what you want to do in your day. But when you get into the real world, there's a lot of times that you don't get a choice, right? Like you have to pay your taxes. You have to be at work at this time to this time, right? How do you get a child to understand that difference?
Natural consequences.
Okay.
That's our favorite. That's our favorite. Like that nature provides its natural consequences. The children. It's not like Lord of the Flies out there, right?
Yeah.
Where they're just doing whatever they want. We have a community. We have set expectations in our community. There are natural consequences if you go against those rules. And for being a nature school, being out immersed in nature all year long, there's a lot of natural consequences that are out there that they essentially they just learn. I'd like to talk about whenever we were meeting with that CEO, from that. But this is one of the things we do expect. We do set the expectation that our children need to know how to handle their finances because that's a part of life. You have to know how to survive. All of those things those core life subjects, I suppose, we're hitting on those. We're going to make sure that they know how to handle themselves whenever they're adults, because that's where they're going to be whenever they leave us.
Which they actually don't learn in school.
No, they don't.
They don't.
None of these kids know how to even balance a checkbook,
Right.
which I know is old school of thinking, but still.
But you still need to know how to budget.
Budget, exactly right.
Yeah. And so we were meeting before this last year started, we were meeting to seek out donors for our program. And we had gone to a large corporation out here, and we were sitting down with the CEO, and she was talking about how she had to create an entire life skills program for all of their onboarding children. I say children, they're 18, 20, 25, 5 years
Young
old.
adults.
High school graduates.
These graduates that, and even some, I think she said that she wanted to steer away from college graduates. Was that because they were just kind of not filling the role? But they had to create this life skills program essentially for the first 6 to 8 weeks that they were working at this corporation to be able to learn how to live life. As an adult.
The example.
I get it.
They could not survive as a company if they did not create that. This is what we're producing with our current system.
Yeah,
There's
are.
a problem.
There is a problem.
with that.
Do you know who Jess Hine is?
The name sounds familiar.
She's a friend of mine. I had her on. She was actually my first in-person guest, but she's a master social worker. And we talked about this exact thing because I told her that I've had either employees where their mother will call them off and they're in early 20s, or I've had members who's also in their mid to late 20s where their payment declined, they get charged a late fee, and the mother or the dad will call and complain. We're talking about 25, 27-year-old people.
That's the current situation. So Sarah...
The examples that she was giving us were they don't know how to call off work.
Yep.
Like
don't know
she
how to
had an
sweep.
employee
Don't know how to
who
push a
didn't-
broom.
It's crazy.
Didn't know that they had to call off if they were sick. Just didn't come to work for days on end. Nobody heard from them. Didn't know. Don't know how to sign up for health insurance. Don't know how to sweep a broom.
Don't know how to open a bank account.
Parents going in with their children to job interviews.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, we literally talked about that helicopter parenting.
And I'm like, what?
That's huge nowadays, I feel like.
Yeah.
These parents are overcompensating for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't have the attention that they thought they needed, and so now they're overcompensating with their children, which creates chaos.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's great that you guys teach that at such a young age.
We have to.
Yeah,
You're
I
part
agree.
of a community. You're a part of a team.
So what does a typical day look like at your school? Like what time do they have to be there? What time are they there till? How much classroom versus outside? What does that look like?
A lot of it. Well, we have our drop off. Our drop off begins at 8:30, 8:15 for the cohort 2. Is that right? 8:15.
Yeah, they have a longer school day.
We do a morning game, so a team building activity or a mindful movement activity in the morning to just basically break in that transition going from home to school. That's outside the entire time. Last year,
Even in the dead of winter?
even in the dead of winter. So our kids complained more whenever the weather broke in the spring
It was too hot.
About being
heat than they did whenever it was 4 degrees outside.
Wow.
Yeah.
Midwestern kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was so I'm from Georgia. I love the heat. The heat's I feel at home in the heat. But
Yeah.
these kids were complaining whenever it was 50 degrees. What the heck are we doing here?
Yeah.
So yeah, even in the dead of winter, so our motto is there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. So you have to dress for the occasion. You have to that requires pre-planning, right? So they're already starting to think, how can I be comfortable at school because my body's going to be outside. I feel like that's one of those silent teachers that we've yet to see how well that integrates into critical thinking, because that's a big topic for us too. One of our foundational principles. Back to the schedule.
That's okay.
Back to the schedule. Okay, so then each day is a little bit different. We call it a daily flow rather than a daily schedule. We don't have bells. We have this framework of how we want the school day to go. So cohort 1 and cohort 2 are slightly different. Still similar subjects that are being taught. Just cohort 1 doesn't spend as much time on the core academics as the cohort 2. We do reading activity. We do math activity. We do Socratic discussions. We do survival bushcrafting skills. What am I missing here? There's a lot of, and then towards the afternoon. So in the morning is more so we're focusing on academics. We're focusing on introducing the academic portion. And then the afternoon is more free choice, free play.
And survival skills, homesteading, project-based learning. The cohort 2, they're going to be doing a lot of the project-based learning, where instead of compartmentalizing the subjects, they have a real-world problem that they're working on. We're using Rock by Rock for that. They're actually piloting that program, and it's really cool to see.
And so what time do they finish the day?
2:30 is.
So it's pretty much a standard school day.
Oh, there is that rule, the 180 days on campus and then so many hours.
Okay. So you have an hour requirement as well. I love that you're starting the day with a physical activity, because that allows them to kind of get that energy out, and
they never stop moving.
Yeah.
We don't have the environment
Especially
where they
at that
have
age.
to stop moving.
Yeah.
We don't. And can you imagine what life would look like just on a broad scale here in America if we weren't forced to stop moving? What do you think? How do you think the health of Americans would be right now?
Oh yeah.
So we see the kids. We have these like ninja slacklides out there. They're climbing trees. They're running everywhere. They don't walk. They don't. If they're called from out in the woods, they don't just walk. They always run.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't stop running.
Yeah.
Always running.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying before, like joking, like we're producing Olympic athletes.
Yeah.
Because like we should have a study on that to see like how much remember Rainey? The first year that we had it, and it was the 3 students. Rainey, her daughter, wore her like
My old Fitbit.
her
Oh,
old
okay.
Fitbit to school one day. And what was it?
It
4 and a
was
half
like-
miles
Yeah,
Really?
that she did during a school day.
during a school
And
day.
it was just a typical day. And it's like
I
the
think a
amount of
mile
movement.
is what, like 12,000 steps or something like that is what they say.
I don't know the steps
So if they're 4.5 miles, she's doing like 50,000 steps.
in a day.
That's crazy.
And it was just a typical day.
yeah.
But like she's saying, they run everywhere. Anywhere they go, they're running, they're running,
Yeah.
they're running. But just the amount, just how drastically different that is from a kid who's in school.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's crazy to think about how completely
Where
different
exactly
it
is the school?
It's out in Winfield.
Okay.
It's like
Ruby
Winfield,
Ranch.
Crown Point border. There's a new middle school out there,
Yeah, the new Taft.
the new Taft. We can see that from the hill.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh, so you're back there behind, like on 113, off of 113th.
off 129th.
129. Okay.
Yeah, that's where. So there's 56 acres out there
Uh-huh.
that we've pretty much have free reign on. Tom, he's been such a blessing. He's a retired Navy or former Navy SEAL.
Really? Ooh, he'd be cool to talk to.
He is. We'll hook you guys up.
Yeah.
He's
He just wrote a book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Definitely got to get him on here then.
yeah. I'm sure he would love to talk, but he so it was just one of those divine connections. It was I had posted a need on Crown Point Cares or something, one of those websites or one of those Facebook pages, and I told him about my family, what we wanted to do, what's our vision, and we're looking for some space. There was some churches that reached out, and then somebody, I've never met this person, still to this day. She said, "Hey, I've got a friend. He's an ex-Navy SEAL. He wanted to do this, but COVID hit and he couldn't do it. Maybe you guys can connect." And then within like 3 hours, we were on the phone. He was inviting us out to the ranch.
Wow.
We met up with him the next week, and then and it was just immediately we knew that was it. That was the
Yep,
space
this
that
is
we
it.
wanted to be in. And it happens to go back into this soul calling that we have, that we said yes to it. I feel like there's this grand design, this divine intervention that's happening to continue to make this happen for us. Because the very first time that we did our first fundraiser for our structure, we were purchasing a geodome. The very first fundraiser that we did, a generous man gave us $20,000. And this was fundraiser. We were probably expecting like $2,000-$3,000 maybe. It was like,
I was hoping for 5. I was really gunning for 5.
but whenever we were in talks with the people that we were purchasing the dome from, that they gave us a list of these used domes that they were selling. And then there was one $36,000, $26,000, and then I was like, we'll take the 36 footer. Will you take $20,000 for it? And they're like, yeah.
Oh,
So-
wow.
And it was just, that was already paid for. So, and it's been happening left and right like that. Every time we state a need, it gets filled. And we don't, and we don't have to work too hard for it.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
we're working hard out there. We're working hard to make this happen. But there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of divine intervention happening here that we feel like, holy crap! How did we just create this? How did this just happen?
Yeah.
Call
And
it
it's
God
really-
wink. That was a God wink. That
Yeah.
was a God wink.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
And so there's 3 of you total as partners? Mm-hmm. And then, so you have roughly 35 kids, you said?
34.
30, yeah.
34. And so how many teachers, is that what you call them, teachers?
We
Guides.
call them guides.
Guides.
Guides on the side.
How many guides per group of children?
We cap out at 1 to 10.
Okay.
1 to 10
Wow, that's
students.
so manageable.
And that's just for our guides. Of course, me, Ashley, and Sarah, we go in there and we're integrating into the flow throughout the day. So it's even less than 1 to 10. But that's the way that we wanted to design it.
So 1 guide per roughly 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume then like there's 10 per cohort roughly?
No. Cohort 1 will have 22 or 23.
Oh, wow. And there is that one cohort, or is there an A and a B group, or?
We kind of separated out just naturally where our younger learners, like our 5, 6s, are in a different group than like our 7, 8, 9s.
yeah.
Like that just kind of naturally happens where it's like they're doing a different type of activity or something that's more appropriate to where they're at, and then our 7, 8, 9s are with someone else, doing something that's more age appropriate for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, they're allowed to intermingle within that, but
Right.
that's just naturally how it
And
divides
sometimes
itself.
they do. What was cool that we saw whenever we had the older children doing some of the higher maths, the younger children, they wanted to get up to that. So they looked up to that and they were like, "Oh, how do I learn how do I do multiplications so that I can learn how to do division?" And that's what they were. That was one of the natural things that we didn't have to do that. That was just that was their eagerness to learn. So
So when you guys talk about choice in these cohorts, how do you guys handle, like you mentioned, the first however long of the first part of the day is physical, and then you guys go into the traditional academic learning, and let's say you get to the reading part and you have a kid that's like, I'm not feeling this right now. How do you guys handle that?
we did. So last year we were what was the book that they were reading? The second I think it was the BFG, the Big Friendly Giant. Most of the kids were reading this book together, and then one of the kids was just like, I'm just not into that. I like to learn about war. I like to learn about
A boy.
yeah. It's like, I like to learn about real stuff. I don't like this. So then I brought out, we had a book in there in the dome already that I had already been looking at. It was some World War II stories about people that had overcome and triumphed through their experiences in World War II. And then that's what happened for him he broke off and just started to read that. Now the follow-up activities that we have, so we have some, so we'll read the book together, and then we'll have some follow-up activities to help them to develop their writing skills. So journaling or learning about just how to write a sentence. It was easily adaptable for him to do the same thing, but just geared towards that book.
That book. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's very cool.
There's, we have our acronym, the GROW,
Yeah.
where you can gamify something, you can read, you can observe. So if
Or write or create.
write, so that it's like, if you don't want to do exactly this, okay, that doesn't mean that you can just do whatever you want.
Right.
You can gamify it, you can read about it, you can observe, you can write. So we give them options where it's like, if this doesn't fit what you want to do right now, here's how you can make it different.
So that's your natural consequences. You're still doing something, but it's within that realm
Right.
of some sort.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where it's not just complete free reign.
Free reign.
And if we do notice that, which last year I don't think that we had too much of an issue, but just for my my worst case scenario imagination, that if there is a child out there that will absolutely not self-start, will not choose to do or engage or anything, we won't serve them. We can't serve them because that's not what we're not turning into something that we're not, right? Mm-hmm. If they need to be told what to do, then they can go to a different school. So we're not just going to hold on to kids and just let them deteriorate. They have to set their own goals. They have to grow themselves. That's the environment that we've created for them.
So what is your guys' application process like? What are your requirements to even get into your school?
So we have a tour and an interview where you come out to the school.
Interview with the child or the parents?
Both.
Okay.
The whole
Separately
family.
or together?
Together.
Okay.
But you come out to our school, we tell you what we're going to do, what we're not going to do, and then if it's still a mutual good fit at that point, then we go into the interview portion where, we ask them questions of, is this a good fit for everyone? It has to be mutually beneficial for you and for us. We have our list of questions that we ask families. We believe that the family is the first in the child's life, and we are a supplement to that. We also are building a community. We want families that don't just want to drop their kid off and not know what's going on there. We want parents that are involved. Also, social media is a huge, I don't want to say issue, but we have, parameters around that for our students, where
Meaning?
we don't want social media introduced before.
Oh.
What age did we say?
I mean, at least the
25.
Yeah, 26, 27.
Because there's so much of them. They don't know who they are, and whenever you hook them up to social media, they're going to be told who they are, and we want them to be able to discover who they are before they get.
Totally agree. And not only that, but they also, at that young of an age, they're so impressionable that they believe everything that's on social media.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that social media is just, it's not fact, all of it.
No, their brains aren't ready for it.
Yeah.
They're not ready for it. So that's, an item that we definitely want to have the same values from the parents on. That's big for us. And then just also, are you okay with not knowing what reading level your child is at? Or, the parents are able to look and see their kids' grades every single day. We're not sending home report cards. We're not sending home that, here's Johnny got a B on this, they got a C on this. We don't do grades like that. So that's a leap of faith for parents.
Yeah, they have to trust their kid.
That's a hard transition if you're used to school. So it's like we want to be really clear on what we do. We do track progress. We do portfolio reviews. So every quarter, twice a year, we sit down with the parents and the child and we go over their portfolio. So what they've done and what they're working on, where they're at. And we have a discussion as a team. What do you want to see more of? What do you like? What do you don't like? How can we serve you better? But you're not going to get that daily worksheets coming home letting you know where your kid is at with this, and this. And we want to be really clear with families on that.
So do you guys leverage technology, meaning like they could log in and see their progress? Is there still a digital aspect to the school, or is it still kind of like paper?
Cohort 2 there will be, because their core academics have an online component. The AI, we're using the AI as a tool.
Okay.
You can just get more bang for your buck with that.
Yeah.
It's individualized to the student. So instead of sitting in math class for 60 minutes every single day and everyone's working on the same concept, this program is tailored to you, and you can get done in 20 minutes what would take a week in an entire classroom. So the parents at cohort 2 will be able to see, where their child's at. But cohort 1, we don't have that
Gotcha.
digital component.
We do still have the expectation of the families, the parents, to trust their children in their learning journey, and that's completely different. Again, we don't want to come into this and talk about our school like we're better than you or anything, right? This is just our life experiences have brought us to these decisions of how we want to be able to raise our kids and what kind of community we want to be able to raise our kids in. So this is going back to the application process that you were talking about. A lot of our parents that we're looking for them, they are counterculture in the way that they think, that they don't want their children to just be unintentional in their world and just jellyfish it through life. They want their children to really find their soul calling and pursue that. So a lot of our parents, we have had a few veteran parents, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs. I think that's the vibe that we have.
How many enrollments are you guys accepting per year?
We're gonna grow slow. We want to grow slow. We don't know.
It's a numbers game because we don't put like an exact number on it necessarily every single year, because if we have 20 people apply and they're all 5-year-olds, we can't take 25-year-olds.
Sure.
So it really is a numbers game in terms of like how many siblings are there, what are the ages, how much staff do we have, are we comfortable with the staff level that we have, or do we want to grow more staff? So I mean, we've really just kind of had to look and see.
How many prospects do you guys typically get per year? People interested in joining the school?
I mean, a lot in terms of people that are just interested. Like just you're saying from like first bite, like, hey, I have an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
I want to know about your school. A lot.
Really?
A lot. Yeah.
So the word is out.
I think so.
That's great.
Our primary mode of getting the word out is social media.
Yeah. Are you guys running ads, or is it organic?
Organic.
Wow, that's
organic.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's how I found you guys.
Yeah.
Just randomly showed up in my feed. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what's this?
It wasn't random.
What is this?
Definitely.
So is the cost different per cohort, or is it?
Slightly
There's a
different.
technology fee for cohort 2 just to cover the cost
Sure.
of the technology, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're running the same numbers as the other private schools in the area.
Yeah.
We're in the same.
On average, yeah, close to it.
So when you say grow slow, what is your guys' goal? Do you guys sit down as an organization and say, this year we want to go?
I know that money is an issue. I know that is a thing that we have to look at, but that's not the only thing that we're looking at. We want to maintain integrity with what our vision is. So if we don't get enough students to be able to fill, like last year we were out there, we didn't get paid. We were out there, we were putting blood, sweat, and tears into this because that's what our calling is right now. So of course we are addressing that. We're looking at, we have help with fundraising this year, which will be new. But we want to grow slow in that way, that it is organic, that it maintains that integrity with what the vision is. Does that make sense?
Totally.
If we ran with or accepted every person that's been interested in our school,
we would have lost it.
Yeah.
But we would have 50, 60, 70 students.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's not what we want right now.
No, I get that. That's smart.
Eventually, yes, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, but it's something that, like Shay's saying, we want to keep it small so we can keep the integrity of it and the vision. If you get too big too fast, then
I mean, what is the average size of a micro school?
that's a great question.
There-
It varies
yeah.
so much. Like everyone
does.
has such a different idea of what a micro school is. Some micro schools are 6 kids and that's it, because it's one teacher in her home teaching these students, and there's 6. There's micro schools that have
120.
120. So, I mean, it's really what you want it to be, essentially.
It's such a new thing for American culture, microschooling. It is, it's emerging and it's developing. It's defining itself right now. So we're just riding the wave.
Yeah. What about what do they call that? Where the state allows you, if you don't go to a public school, you can go to a private, but you get the
Vouchers.
The
Vouchers.
vouchers. Yeah.
Are you guys able to get vouchers?
Since we're not accredited, we're not able to take the
It's all
vouchers.
private pay until universal choice kicks in, if that kicks in. But there's a lot of legislation that has to go.
Is that on the
forward to be
docket for
able to.
Indiana at all?
They teased us a little bit with it last year, but we didn't get it.
Do you think that with Trump trying to get rid of the DOE that
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. And it's to be able to give those tax dollars back to the parents to be able to use for their child's education in whatever way that they see fit. That's what I'm hopeful for.
Yeah.
I know that Florida does a good job of it. Arizona does. I think Texas does a good job of it. They all
they have the universal choice?
where you basically you take those tax dollars and then you put it forward to your child's education, whatever way you see fit. Yeah.
It would be life-changing for a lot of people. I see the other side of it where people say, if those tax dollars don't go to the school, then the school can't function. They need that money in order to be able to function as a system. But
You're saying the federal tax dollars?
yes.
Yeah.
From the other side, as a parent, my $8,000 for my child is going to a school that they're never going to step foot into that building.
Yeah.
And as a family, we've had to make so many financial sacrifices to make that choice.
Yeah.
And it's like it's our tax dollars.
I think people forget that, right? I know there's a big, not to get political, but I know there's a big uproar about him trying to abolish the DOE, right? But ultimately, the money's still got to come from somewhere, and all that's going to happen is it's giving the rights back to the states to make those decisions rather than the federal government.
Yeah.
So that means the states are going to pick up having to charge more taxes to offset what they lose, right?
I think it's telling if parents were given that money.
Yeah.
If that meant that the system would collapse, that's very telling.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Natural consequences.
If you had the option, if you had this money and you could, that's what we say. It's like, what if there was like 20 micro schools in your town that were an option where it's like you could go here or you could go here,
Why
you
does
go
there
here.
have to be one flavor of education?
Yeah.
That's my question is why
Competition's good.
we didn't eat the same thing for breakfast. Why would we have to eat the same education?
Yeah.
And that's where that's what has become the monopolization of our schools through the DOE. That individuation process, there's no room for it. So again, the soul gets lost.
Yeah.
People don't know who they are whenever they leave school.
Well, I mean, look at the state of Indiana, right? I've read, do you know what percentage of the education budget goes towards colleges, state colleges?
No.
It's like 60%.
Wow.
Now, you go to Purdue, you go to IU, those are state colleges that you have to pay tuition. That is a lot of money, but yet they're still getting tax dollars to fund the school.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably a bad comparison, but use Harvard as an example. Harvard, we all know, elite Ivy League school, charges big money to go to Harvard, but their endowment fund, they make so much money on interest on their endowment fund that they could pay for every single student's tuition till the end of time and never touch the principal. That's how big the endowment fund is, but yet they're still charging tuition. It's big business is what you really think about it. Like, I always say, like, everyone says, follow the money, right? The two fastest growing industries in America is college, because they're getting free money from the government, right? All of the either tax dollars or the federal, the aid, right? Or the loans that go out there, and medicine,
Yeah.
right? Look at how many doctor/hospital locations we have now. When I was a kid growing up in this area, there was a hospital. There was St. Anthony's, right? There was community, the old community, and there was hardly any doctor's offices. Now
they're popping up like gas stations.
Exactly right. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's big business, and
Yeah.
so is education.
Yeah. That's another going back into counterculture and what we're trying to do for these children is we want them to know about their bodies, how to use their bodies. So we're integrating breath work into our school. Amanda is our new teacher coming on this year. She's an old PE teacher. She's integrating all of this physical education into it, and we want them to know how to use their bodies, how to discern what is good for my body, what is not good for my body. And that's something to look at all of these hospitals, all of these kidney centers, all the just sick places to handle sick care. I don't know. It's an ignorance on our part to be able to have to not teach them, I don't know, about this body that they're using. Again, it's the one thing that they're going to have this lifetime. They need to know how to use it. They need to know how to take care of it.
100%.
Yeah.
Most of the people that walk here in the gym, right, they'll ask me for advice, especially if they're injured. And the first thing that I tell them is move. You have to move. Like if you injure your knee or you injure whatever muscle group, you have to move. Most doctors will say, oh, you need to, brace it, ice it, sit around for a few days, right? No, you got to move. I'm not saying you got to go hard, but there's no reason why you can't just go for a walk. Right? Just go for a walk. That's all I'm saying by move. Like the body's meant to move, and most people don't move because they're either at a desk most of the day or they're binging Netflix, So yeah. Hopefully with your school that you guys like instill that behavior where they carry that forward into adulthood.
Those kids move so much. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's just built into the environment that we have, that they're not forced to stop moving. So they remain connected in their body. And there's so much that I feel like we're disconnected as adults. And that's why we want to check out. We want to check out on Netflix. We want to check out on social media. We want to check out with drugs, alcohol, sex, all of this stuff we're checking out because we don't feel good in our bodies.
Yeah.
So
what about musical instruments? Do you guys teach that at all? Remember we all had the recorder as a kid?
Yeah, and it's we don't have a recorder class. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but
music. Twice we had it out there.
Yeah,
where we had music come out to the campus and show the kids. That they really enjoyed that.
We just set up a drum set out in the woods, so you can hear some drumming coming out.
That's hilarious.
We encourage, again, our parents to, if their kids are interested in music, go out there and music. There's a lot of creativity that happens out there. We're almost every day we're doing watercolor. We're painting. We're creating something with nature. So we're being very intentional with continuing to nurture that creative part of the brain and the imagination brain. That's the most important thing.
Do you think that the way that you guys structure the curriculum that you're able to teach both sides of the brain, creative and analytical?
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're very intentional with trying to balance that out. I'm sure that there's no perfect formula for anybody, but we are balancing the two. We're making sure that we're holding space for both because I remember leaving the system, leaving college and still not knowing what I wanted to do, going into the mortgage industry, hating that. Whenever I was trying to do some self-discovery work to figure out who I was, it was so hard for me to even answer some of the questions because my creativity was just zapped. My imagination, I couldn't even imagine who I could be. Yeah. It was gone. And I had to do a lot of work to recover that.
What about, I know you said that you started introducing devices in cohort 2, and how are you guys going to handle the fast-paced evolution of technology, especially AI, and now there's a big push in schools to teach coding, right? They're saying that's going to be a huge part of everyone's job function when they get in the real world.
I thought that I heard that coding was
the AI is going to do the
getting
coding.
taken over by AI.
Yeah, I guess, but at the same time, I guess that still the AI needs coding to understand. So
like prompting,
well, now AI has got to the point where the AI can prompt for you,
can tell you what you want,
what you should prompt. Yeah, yeah.
I want to say there's a lot of unknowns.
Prompting. Are you familiar with prompting?
Yes, but how does it tells you
what to prompt?
What to prompt?
Yeah, you say, this is what I'm trying to do. What should be the prompt? So that you give me the best answer.
Have you seen that study where they showed the
Yes.
brain?
Isn't that crazy?
People who use AI versus people who don't use AI?
Yeah. I don't know.
So how are we going to
scary.
balance that? We're gonna see. We're gonna watch and see. If we see a deterioration happening in our children's ability to compute and to think through problems,
Critically,
we're going to figure out how to pivot. And that's another blessing that we have with the freedom that we're not attached to the DOE structure, that we don't have to wait for the DOE to approve of our pivot in our curriculum of whatever we're doing. If we notice something's not working, we're going to change. We're going to shift. So I don't even know if the regular schools know how they're going to deal with that fast-paced evolution.
Some of the teachers that I've talked to say it's become so hard because of AI that the kids are using AI to write their papers, all of that stuff. And then there's programs out there because, like, if someone uses ChatGPT to write a term paper, you can tell that it was written by AI. But then there's software out there that will, because it's like watermarked with AI, but then there's software out there that will scrub the watermark so it doesn't look like it's AI.
Of course there is.
Yeah. Yeah. So there, yeah.
So how are we going to find the balance? The way that we see it is we want them to learn what they're curious about. They're not going to want to outsource their papers to AI.
Yeah.
They're going to want to write about neuroplasticity because we have a student. She is so fascinated by the brain. She wants to be a therapist when she grows up. She loves neuroscience. She loves to study it. That's what she's going to study. That's the direction that she's going to go in. So whenever we have them questioning what their passions are, what their interests are, we're going to send them in that direction, and then we're going to add in, oh, well, here's how you write an essay. Here's how you get your point across whenever you're talking about what you're passionate about.
And teaching them that AI is a tool.
Tool.
It's a tool that can be in our toolbox, but it doesn't replace your brain. And I think that's a big part of it too. Is like if there's that education piece, like if you're just a kid and you're handed a phone and it's like you can do whatever you want with it. It's like we want to be on the side where it's like we're the ones guiding, we're the ones teaching, and also educating. The flip side of it is that there's real dangers in this, and being on the front end of that, because I mean, we don't know what this is going to look like, and we don't know what it's going to look like for a younger generation growing up with that.
Yeah.
It's so radical from how we were raised. But I think that's a big part of it, is just kind of being on the front end of it in terms of educating them that.
Well, it's good that you're teaching survival skills, because Terminator's on its way if we keep going this route.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, our friend Sarah, our partner, she has not, she said, I don't know what ChatGPT is. I haven't even looked at it. I don't even know how to ask it a question. And I think that it's because of Terminator.
She's on the right
I
track.
don't trust it.
She's an amazing writer. That she's very gifted in that. She's an amazing writer. So I think that to me, if I was an amazing writer, it would feel like someone stealing something from you that was naturally God given to you. Now everyone can be an amazing writer because I tap it into ChatGPT, and it's like, wait a minute, that's a gift I was given.
Yeah.
I could see being.
But again, I think you're right. It needs to be. I mean, I use it daily, but I use it as a tool.
Daily?
Yes.
What are you asking ChatGPT daily?
A lot of it is like Excel stuff.
Oh.
You're like, I want to take this data over here with this data over here.
So like you're doing it from like your business, not like a personal.
No. It's purely business.
Got it.
Yeah, I would say it's probably 95% business, 5% personal.
Yeah.
My personal was the other day. I asked it, you know, how many minutes should I cook my chicken breast at 375?
It's a lot better than asking Google.
Yeah,
Like
it is.
It gives you a direct answer.
It does. It's in fact it's outpacing Google now in
Yeah.
terms of search queries.
Yeah.
But so we have, like, if you're a child and you're doing that, like we talk about having a wonder board where the kids ask questions, because now there's just an immediate answer for everything. And it's like, what does that process look like from our brain standpoint?
Stealing your
and
curiosity.
I think that study showed what happens to the brain when you don't have those chances to really think about things or question or what makes this tick, or I don't know, I just don't know the answer. And just sitting with that, it's like now there's an immediate answer to everything.
You don't need to retain as much because the answer is right at your fingertips, right?
So what happens when you don't use it?
Yeah.
You
It's like a
lose
muscle.
it.
Yeah.
Right. I just think it's so wild. Like, it's just this carrot that's dangled in front of us, and everyone's like, it's so great. It's so great. It scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, I could see that. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
I know
you.
you got a hard stop. This was fun. Where can everyone learn more about your academy and see you guys?
Shay's awesome social media skills. We're on Instagram.
Wonder Academy, NWI.
NWI. I don't
Yeah.
know what is that the Facebook one too?
I believe so. Yeah, both of them are Wonder Academy NWI social media, and then we have a website, wonderacademynwi.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.